Hey, my family and friends, and hopefully somewhere along the line, my new friends. I'm really excited about today's podcast, having the opportunity to sit down with you and share some of my thoughts and, just kind of reveal some of the things on my heart and hopefully bring a little bit of an encouragement to you today. Oh, this is some crazy, crazy times that we are living in, and a lot of stuff is going on around us that sometimes can be a big distraction to maybe some of the more important things, more important issues that we should have going on in our lives. So maybe today, it's kind of like a little bit of priority adjustment, maybe coming to a place of understanding in our lives that we all need a little help now and then to, stay focused and stay in line with maybe what our dream is, or what I like to say is our purpose is. So I just want to, it's just going to be me and you today. And I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but I hope that, you'll stick around long enough to maybe get the gist of what I want to share with you, because the reality is we all need some help along the way in this journey. In fact, the title of my podcast today is "Who Doesn't Need Help?" That's a question. The reality is that somewhere along the line, we are all going to need some help. We are all going to need some encouragement. We are all going to need a leg up, if you will, to, make something of our lives, to make something of our families, our careers, our dreams, or whatever we're dealing with in life. So anyway, again, I'm just excited that you're going to give me a little of your time, and let me encourage you a little bit. I've always believed that we all come into this life with purpose. I believed that before I believed in God. I remember when I was in junior high and high school, I would go out in my yard. My parents, we lived out in the country on an acreage, and there was a picnic table out in the yard. And I would go out at night and lay on that picnic table and look up into the stars and just wonder who the heck I was. What was there a plan for my life? Was there a purpose? Was there meaning for my life? I had no idea who God was. I didn't really even knew if I even really believed in him, but I had this inner thing going on the inside of me that there had to be some reason that I was here, and then I went into high school, graduated, went into college, and even ended up getting married. And then I found a relationship with God. I accepted Jesus into my life, make a long story short. And then I really began to realize that if I had come from God, then, there must be a reason for my existence. There must be a reason for my purpose. All these dreams that are floating around on the inside of me, these desires to do this and be this and accomplish this and accomplish that, they had to be coming from somewhere. And then I guess I really came to realize that I don't care who you are. If you are a human being in this life, there's purpose behind you. There's a reason for your existence, and that's what causes us to dream. That's what causes us to think big. And even sometimes when we're frustrated and maybe we don't think there is any purpose in our life, there's always going to come those moments where something's going to motivate you to think big. So that's that purpose that, I believe that, maybe you don't believe this, but that I believe that God gave us, that motivates all of us to dream. And I think about this, we all have different dreams, different purposes, but that doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that some of us aren't important. I love how the Apostle Paul uses the human body to help us understand the body of Christ as well as our individual lives. He uses that human body. There's a lot of different parts with a particular purpose, and how all of those parts are necessary, and even the seemingly unnecessary parts are important, and how there's not a part in the human body that can say to another part, I don't need you. I love that. And yet we do that to each other all the time. We think we're more big, we got bigger stuff going on than somebody else, or we're closer to God than somebody else. And so we get into all this judgment and criticism and cynicism, and we forget that we've been given this incredible example that we are all important, that we all have a part. We all have a role to play. We are one body, one humanity, and we need each other, and we need to learn that. But like different parts of the body, we all have specific functions. Your dream may be different than mine. Maybe you're dreaming about being an entrepreneur, owning your own business. Maybe you've got dreams as it relates to ministry. Maybe you've got dreams as it relates to your family. Maybe, I don't know what you're dreaming about, but it might be different than mine, and mine might be different than yours. And that's okay, because like the many different parts of the body, we all have a role to play, a function to realize in our life. But I think we need to regain an appreciation for each other and how important we are to each other's lives. I remember the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to Timothy. Timothy was a little bit discouraged. He was pastor in one of the largest churches in the world at that particular time, and it was going through great persecution. I mean, they were throwing people to the lions. You know, the whole Roman Empire thing was just running the show, and it was just abusing the church. And Timothy was struggling in his life. And the Apostle Paul wrote him this letter. And in the opening chapters, in chapter 1, verse 9 of 2 Timothy, you know, Paul reminded him that God had given him a purpose. Okay, well, that was a letter written to Timothy. What does that have to do with me? We're children of God also. So, you know, the fact of the matter is if Timothy had a purpose, so do you. And so do I. And he reminded him, he said, just remember who saved you and called you with a holy calling, not according to who you think you are, not according to what you think your gifts are, but according to his own purpose. And then he says, he's graced you to chase your dream, to realize your dream, regardless of how difficult things might become. God has graced all of us with the tools that we need. Just think about the human body, how the heart has been graced to do what it does. The lungs have been graced to do what they do. The feet have been graced to do what they do. And you know what? I want you to know, whoever you are, wherever you are, what you think about God or don't think about God, you have a place and a purpose, and you're important to this world, and we need you to be everything you were created for. You know, I know there's a lot of people that get this and have heard this before, but maybe you haven't. But here's what I want to encourage you with today. You know, here's what I want you to gain a little bit of encouragement, and that's this. Just because you have a God-given purpose, just because your life has purpose, just because you have a dream, you know, something that you're chasing out in your life, just because maybe you feel a divine calling on your life, doesn't mean that everything is going to be easy. Just ask somebody who started their own business. Just ask somebody who maybe has chased their dream a little bit sooner than you started chasing yours. Man, just because God has given us a purpose, just because there's I like to say a God-ordained plan for every single one of us, doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean that it's just going to fall out of the sky, so to speak. Doesn't mean that it's just going to fall into your lap. There's going to be a price to pay. There's going to have to be a struggle that is endured. That's why a lot of people give up. That's why a lot of people quit chasing their dreams, quit chasing their purpose, the reason for their existence. That's why a lot of people just settle for existing day to day with no passion, no hunger for what, you know, maybe they could have in their lives, is because it just gets hard sometimes. I remember something that Jesus said to his followers. In Luke chapter 9, in verse 23, he said to them all, he said to all of them, everybody in the crowd that was trying to follow him, he said, listen, he listened to this. He said this, if anyone desires to come after me. I thought about that, and I was thinking, like, can I say it this way? If anyone desires to chase a dream that I have put in their heart, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. You know, I personally believe that, you know, The reality is, no matter what you're dreaming, what you're chasing, what you feel your purpose is, what your heart is going after, you're never going to get there on your own. You're never going to realize your purpose and your dream by yourself. And I think the first person that you ought to have next to you is Jesus. Listen to that again. He says, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. The Apostle Mark said it this way. And when he heard Jesus say, this is what he heard him. And when he called the people unto him with his disciples, he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. You know, you could be somebody that doesn't even believe in God. You may not even believe that God has given you your purpose. You may believe that, you're just chasing your own dream. You came up with this dream and you're chasing it. And, right now that's okay. But I'm going to tell you that even if you don't believe in God, you're going to need somebody along the journey to help you. There are going to be some times when you are going to have to die to yourself, meaning that when you feel like quitting and giving up, you gotta die to that. You cannot allow that to stop you. Anybody who chases any dream, anybody who ever attempts to follow any purpose that they feel in their lives are going to attract opposition. We as Christians sometimes say, well, when you start getting closer to the purpose God has ordained your life for, you get the attention of the devil. It could be, it could be some friends that laugh at you, that don't believe in you as much as you do. It could be some of your own family members. Whenever you start moving in the direction, whenever you start chasing a dream, desiring to fulfill a purpose, it's always going to attract some opposition. And I get it. I realize that this sounds kind of negative, but there's a silver lining in all of this. I think about Jesus and the ministry that he carried. No one doubts that Jesus came into this life with purpose. Nobody doubts that. We know he came to live, die, and be raised from the dead so that we could be saved. But I want you to think about the opposition that he faced. I mean, every time he turned around, once he was baptized in the River Jordan and the word was out who he was, God spoke to him out of heaven. Man, the devil tried to kill him. People tried to kill him. Religious people tried to kill him. He faced opposition every place he went. In Hebrews chapter 12, one of my favorite scriptures, it said, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses who have all gone through the opposition, let us lay aside every weight and sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. When you dream about something, when you feel like you know what your purpose is and you start chasing it, that's what should keep you going. The idea of realizing your dream, the idea of fulfilling your purpose, whatever that is what should keep you going. And who for the joy that was set before him, Jesus endured the cross. He went through a lot of things. And it says he even despised shame. But because of that, he's now sat down at the right hand of the Father. And then the apostle says to us, he said, consider him who endured such hostility from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and discouraged in your souls. You've not resisted to bloodshed, striving against sin. So, let that be an encouragement to you. If Jesus had to endure some stuff to fulfill his purpose that greatly benefited all of us, then who are we to think, that we're not going to have to go through some stuff? Who are we to think that we're not going to face some discouragements, that we're not going to face some opposition? Think about him. He lived his life and fulfilled his ministry in spite of all that came against him. But here's that silver lining thing again. God will always provide what you need to fulfill your purpose, to accomplish your dream. I'll say it this way. God will always grace you with whatever you need to do whatever it is that he's created you for, whatever it is that he has asked you to do. I have this little saying. It goes like this: where God guides, he provides. When you start chasing after the dream that he's put in your heart, when you start chasing after the purpose that he's placed on your life, then all of a sudden grace to accomplishment comes, and there'll be no opposition. There'll be no difficult day that can keep you from doing what God has created you to do. Here's another little saying that I like. Hudson Taylor, who was a missionary in the 19th century, he said this: God's plan done God's way will not lack God's provision. There's so many examples in the Bible that support this. So many people who gave us good examples. They learned the call of God, the purpose for their life. They chased their dreams. And in spite of the opposition, in spite of the difficulty, in spite of whatever hurdle they had to jump in that journey, they did it. But I want to use Jesus as an example in wrapping this up, and I'm almost done. We all know the story how Jesus had to carry his own cross to Golgotha. He had been judged, sentence had been passed on him. You know, there was an opportunity for him to go free, but the people chose Barnabas to let him go instead of Jesus. And so he was sentenced to die on a cross on a hill called Golgotha. And they made him, I don't know why they did this, carry his own cross to that hill. And as I thought about that story, I knew that in that journey he fell and couldn't carry his cross anymore, and someone came out of the crowd and took the cross and carried it the rest of the way, and then they crucified him on it. But I never saw it like this before. Here, God has given Jesus this purpose to come, live, and die, and be raised from the dead so that we could be free. Within that purpose, one day in that purpose, he had to carry his cross to Golgotha, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't get there on his own. Almost to where he was carrying that cross, the Bible teaches us that he collapsed and he couldn't go any farther. And someone came out of the crowd to help him carry it the rest of the way. And you know, I thought about this. Why didn't God just give Jesus the strength to carry the cross all the way? Why did he let him collapse? Why did he not give him the strength to carry his own cross to his own purpose? And then I realized that there's a message in that for you, and there's a message in that for me. And here's a couple of those thoughts. You will never be able to do what God has created you to do without help. Let's say right now you don't even believe in God. I'll say it to you this way. You will never realize your dream on your own. There has never been anybody in this life accomplish any amount of success on their own. Everyone has had to have some help along the way. So don't forget that you'll never be able to accomplish your dream. So, you know, I like to say, you know me, I like to say, if you haven't opened your heart to God, maybe you need to get him on your side, you know, let him help you the way that he wants to. It's not even about getting him on your side. He's on your side, but it's about you opening up your heart and letting him help you. You know, so just understand that you'll never be able to realize your dream on your own. And then the second thought is that I thought about this. If Jesus needed help to realize his purpose, who are we to think that we won't? Who are we to think that we'll be able to do this on our own? Oh my gosh, I think that's really good. And here's my last little thought. The help that you and I need, let's just say in your journey to realize your dream and fulfill your purpose, the help that you will at some point in time need will not always come from where you think it might come from. I mean, you know, we all have people in our lives that have bailed us out at one time or another. And we might think, we know where our help will come from when we need it, but that's not always the way that it works. I want you to know that nobody knew where Jesus was going to collapse. Nobody knew where Jesus was going to need help. But then, out of nowhere, someone comes out of the crowd, someone that Jesus did not know, someone that Jesus had no way of knowing would be the one to help him, came out of the crowd to help him. And I guess what I'm saying to you is, you won't always know where your help is going to come from. It might behoove us to maybe treat people a little better than we do. It might help us to not take people so much for granted. It might help us not to judge people so quickly, because you know what? That person that you're judging, that person that maybe you're pushing to the outskirts of your life, could be the very one that might help you somewhere along the way. So just always remember this. Your help will not always come from where you think it might come from. Jesus got to the cross. He fulfilled his purpose, but he didn't get there on his own. And I want to encourage you. You're going to accomplish your dream. You're going to fulfill your purpose. You will get there, but you won't get there on your own. So let's just keep our eyes on the mark, keep chasing your dream, and do your part, and then watch God do his. Trust that when you need help, when you need encouragement, there's going to be somebody in your camp that is going to provide you with the help that you need. All right. Well, I hope you got something out of that. I hope that it's a blessing to your life. I want to encourage you, if you are listening to this podcast, watching it for the first time, I want to encourage you to go to my website, bridgebuildingsolutions.com. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can either watch the video or you can listen to it on the podcast apps in your car or wherever you want to. But I pray that you'll let your friends know about what we're doing. Every other Monday night, we're coming to you live, and we want to just be a blessing to you. So if you'd help spread the word, I would greatly appreciate it. I love you, and I appreciate you, and I just want you to know I'm praying for you. All right, we'll see you next time.